Good morning, everyone. So, my next topic discussion is on the organophosphate poisoning. Now, I'm going to discuss with you organophosphate poisoning. Now, what are organophosphates? Basically, these are irreversible acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. Irreversible means they block the acetylcholinesterase enzyme permanently. So, these are organophosphates. These are insecticides and pesticides. These account 80% of pesticide-related hospital admissions in developing countries. And these are insecticides, pesticides which the farmers use in the farms for the proper growth of the plants. And these are malathion, parathion, DFP, like tabun, saccharin, uh, tecrin, and they are also carbamates, also organophosphates and carbamates like carbaryl propoxyl. And the organophosphate poisoning, it can be accidental or it can be occupational or suicidal. Accidental is when the farmer is spraying the insecticides. The insecticides can come in touch with the skin of the farmer, and from the skin it can be easily absorbed inside the body, and then poisoning can occur. Suicidal when the farmer itself takes the insecticides, or occupational, same when the occupation, the farmers, they get exposed to the organophosphates, this poisoning can occur. These are the cholinergic agents. These are acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. There is acetylcholinesterase enzyme is inhibitor. It means there is no breakdown of the acetylcholine, which will lead to increase in the levels of acetylcholine in the body. And all signs and symptoms of increased levels of acetylcholine in the body is the uh, hallmark feature of this organophosphate poisoning. Organophosphates, these are potent cholinesterase inhibitors, and they're permanent in nature, and they're capable of causing severe cholinergic toxicity, and these can occur due to cutaneous exposure when there is skin contact with the farmers, they have the skin contact with them. Then there can occur an inhalational when the nerve gases, they get inhaled like DFP, tabun, saccharin, sabun, saccharine, they get inhaled or they are ingested. Nerve gases, these are the chemical weapons, and these are organophosphate agents. Now, what are the vapors or aerosol exposures when basically the most common is by the inhaled route, the organophosphate poisoning occurs. And the first sign and symptom will be ocular and respiratory effects, miosis. This is the most common pinpoint pupils is the feature of organophosphate poisoning. Other are from the OP, that is opioid poisoning, the pinpoint pupils can be seen, or in the pontine hemorrhage, or in phenol poisoning, that is carbolic acid poisoning, the pinpoint pupils can be seen. And there can be ocular pain, conjunctival congestion can occur, diminished vision, ciliary spasm, spasm of ciliary muscles, and brow ache. These are the signs and symptoms when the inhaled vapors, they get taken in by the uh, patient or by the people. Respiratory effects will be there will be increased secretions. The acetylcholine poisoning, the organophosphate poisoning, it will be having increased secretion. So there will be hyperemia and rhinorrhea. Plus there can be tightness in chest because bronchoconstriction is the main feature because of the stimulation of M3 receptors. Because of stimulation of M1 receptors, the GIT side effects come. M2 receptors, there will be heart side effects like bradycardia, hypotension, and M3 receptors will be in the lungs, in the blood vessels, in urinary tract, and other visceral organs. Bronchoconstrictions and increased bronchial secretions, difficulty in breathing, wheezing are the signs and symptoms of the organophosphate poisoning. Acute intoxication is in the gastrointestinal tract. Acidity will be there, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, muscular cramps, abdominal cramps can occur, anorexia, loss of appetite can occur. These are the gastrointestinal symptoms because of excess of choline, acetylcholine in the body, because of the irreversible or acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. Percutaneous absorption of liquid, like there can be key sweating in key secretions, and because of the stimulation of NM receptors, nicotinic receptors, NM receptors, there is muscle fasciculations also seen. And severe intoxication will be in key salivation, sweating, lacrimation, M2 receptor stimulated, so there will be bradycardia, hypotension in the heart, and there can be M3 receptors stimulation can lead to increased defecation, diarrhea, urination can occur. All these signs and symptoms of excess of acetylcholine will come. Nicotinic symptoms will be, there will be generalized weakness, muscle weakness can occur because of stimulation of NM receptors, twitchings, fasciculations, weakness and paralysis of the muscles, plus paralysis of respiratory muscles, which is a cause of death in organophosphate poisoning, paralysis of respiratory muscles, nicotinic actions. CNS will be the stimulation of NN type of the nicotinic receptors, ganglionic, nicotinic ganglionic receptors. And when there is in excess of the acetylcholine, it can lead to convulsions and coma, slurred speech, loss of reflexes, confusion, loss of motor effects, and there will be vasomotor center in the medulla oblongata can be stimulated, leading to hypotension, and there can be respiratory paralysis, which can lead to death. Time of death after acute exposure may range from less than 5 minutes to nearly 24 hours, depending upon what was the dose, what was the route, and what was the agent, which was the main cause of the organophosphate poisoning. Cause of death is basically by respiratory failure or by the cardiovascular collapse or by hypotension or hypoxemia can be the cause of the death in organophosphate poisoning. Diagnosis is we have to take the history of exposure, if it is cutaneous or inhaled, whether the person was exposed to organophosphate compounds or not, and what all are the symptoms and signs of increased acetylcholine activity in the body, like have defecation, urination, salivation, lacrimation, salivation, bradycardia, hypotension, increased acidity, diarrhea. All these symptoms will be if pinpoint pupils are there in key salivation and bradycardia is there, that can lead to the acetylcholine poisoning. Determination of acetylcholinesterase activities in erythrocytes and plasma. There will be in erythrocytes and plasma, there will be determination of acetylcholinesterase activities. Now, general supportive measures, what is the treatment of the organophosphate poisoning is, we have to terminate exposure. We can wash the skin of the patient and mucous membranes with water. We can remove the contaminated clothing and we can do gastric lavage. And we can maintain the airway, patent airway by endotracheal aspiration, including endobronchial aspiration, maintenance of patent airway by positive pressure ventilation, artificial respiration can be given, and administration of oxygen can be there. And there can be convulsions can be controlled by diazepam 5 to 10 milligram intravenously, or treatment of shock by dopamine or dobutamine we can give, or adrenaline or noradrenaline can be given for the treatment of shock. Now, what is the treatment of pharmacological measure of the organophosphate poisoning is the main line, and the life-saving treatment is we are giving the anticholinergic agent, that is atropine. And atropine acts on the M3, M1 and M2 receptors, muscarinic receptors. It has no action on the nicotinic receptors. And 2 milligram should be given 5 to 10 minutes, repeatedly 2 milligram after every 5 to 10 minutes. These are repeated until the signs of atropinization comes. Signs of atropinization here is the reduced secretions. They can be dry mouth or reduced secretions, or there can be pin mydriasis, dilated pupils, or there can be tachycardia. These are the signs of atropinization. Main sign is the decreased secretions. Most commonly seen is the mydriasis, and all three should be there clinically seen to see the signs of atropinization. And they antagonize the muscarinic M1, M2, and M3 receptors atropine. So there will be reduced secretions. Secretions will be reduced, and bronchoconstrictions, bronchodilation will occur, and bradycardia will be followed by tachycardia. So these tracheobronchial salivary secretions will be reduced, bronchoconstriction will be blocked, and bronchodilation can occur. Bradycardia will be there, and in place of bradycardia, when the stimulation of M2 receptors in the heart takes place, tachycardia will occur. Maximum 200 milligram in first 24 hours we can give the dose of atropine. So tachycardia mydriasis are not appropriate markers for therapeutic improvement, as they may indicate continued hypoxemia, hypovolemia, and sympathetic stimulation. So fever, muscle fibrillation, and delirium are the main signs of atropine toxicity. Now, the fever can be there, muscle fibrillation can be there, or delirium. That indicates that atropine administration should be discontinued at least temporarily. Atropine is ineffective against peripheral neuromuscular effects because periphery NM and NM receptors are not stimulated. And these NM nicotinic receptors are they are reversed by the acetylcholinesterase deactivators, which are pralidoxime or bidoxime, diacetyl monoxime, that is the oxime group of the drugs. These are cholinesterase deactivators, and the nicotinic symptoms are reversed by these oximes. Now, phosphorylated cholinesterase enzyme does not react practically with water, and so its actions are irreversible. Now, this cholinesterase enzyme, when the organophosphates they bind to this acetylcholinesterase enzyme, so these are practically they do not react with the water, and so their action is irreversible. If compounds with highly reactive hydroxyl groups are used, the cholinesterase enzymes get deactivated very fast. Means very highly reactive, or we are taking the hydroxyl compounds are taken. The cholinesterase enzyme, it gets deactivated very fast, and these are the compounds like oximes, like pralidoxime or bidoxime, diacetyl monoxime. These enzymes, they reverse the neuromuscular paralysis. NM receptors, they are not blocked, and they reverse the neuromuscular paralysis due to deactivation of skeletal muscle cholinesterase. Acetylcholinesterase at the skeletal muscles, it gets deactivated, so neuromuscular paralysis does not occur. Now, what is the mechanism of action of the oximes are? They are used to deactivate the phosphorylated oximes, acetylated cholinesterases, and the group NOH, that is hydroxyl group, has the high affinity for phosphorus atom of the organophosphate. So pralidoxime has a nucleophilic site that interacts with phosphorylated site on phosphorylated acetylcholinesterase enzyme. Means it has the nucleophilic site. What is the basic mechanism of action of the enzymes is the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. It breaks the acetylcholine molecule neurotransmitter very rapidly, and this acetylcholine is broken down to acetate and choline, and leading to inactivation or the stoppage of the action of acetylcholine. And this reaction is very fast, and so the site remains almost unoccupied by the static site of the acetylcholinesterase enzymes remains almost unoccupied. When organophosphate poisoning occurs, the organophosphates they bind to the static site of the acetylcholinesterase enzyme, and there is the phosphorus atom of the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. It is very reactive, and when we give the enzymes, that is acetylcholinesterase reactivators, they will combine to the anionic site of the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. And when they combine to the anionic site, the reaction between phosphorus and hydroxyl group of the of the organophosphate compound will occur, and then oxime phosphonate complex will be formed. And they will be the site or the steric site will be freed, and oxime, the anionic site will be freed. So an aesthetic site is freed for the acetylcholine to be broken down. So oxime phosphonate complex will be formed, and they will deactivate the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. And this site, this is the basically how the this is the aesthetic site, and this is the anionic site. This is anionic site, this is aesthetic site. So this is how the enzyme phosphonate complex will be formed, and the enzyme acetylcholinesterase enzyme will be again regenerated. Acetylcholinesterase enzyme will be there. Now, oximes, the pralidoxime is administered by slow IV infusion after dilution as 5% solution in the water, or 10 milliliter saline over 15 to 30 minutes. Dose is 1 to 2 gram in adults and 20 to 40 milligram per kg in children. Dose can be repeated if required to a maximum of 10 to 12 gram in 24 hours. And pralidoxime, it can be administered as early as possible, as after aging it is not effective. And phosphorylated cholinesterases may undergo a dealkylation reaction of the organophosphorus moiety, leading to aged enzyme, that is conversion of the inhibited enzyme into the non-reactivable form. Means there will be loss of alkoxy groups of the enzyme. So alkylation of the enzyme can occur. So that can lead to reduced action or non-action of the enzymes. Aging occurs rapidly when the inhibitor is a powerful nerve agent. And pralidoxime if pralidoxime is administered after aging, that is loss of alkoxy group of the acetylcholinesterase enzyme, it will just make the acetylcholinesterase poisoning worse, as it has anticholinesterase activity. So it is therefore important to administer pralidoxime in the appropriate time window, means as early as possible before the alkylation process takes place of the enzyme. We have to administer pralidoxime as early as possible. And it is effective against the chemically, it is not effective. Now, oximes, they are not effective against the chemically carbamates. They are effective only against the organophosphates, because carbamates, they are the bigger molecules, and they get attached both to the, they have to get attached both to the aesthetic and the anionic site. So as the aesthetic site and anionic site will not be freed, so oximes, they cannot get attached to anionic site. So there will be no action of the oximes will be there. So this is the different carbamate type cholinesterase inhibitors, such as neostigmine and pyridostigmine. These are not effective. The site on which oximes bind and deactivate the enzyme, anionic site, is occupied by carbamates. These carbamates are attached to this site, aesthetic and anionic site, so no attachment of oximes will take place. Carbamates do not have phosphate groups and do not undergo aging. And oximes also possess anticholinesterase activity and can aggravate the condition. They can aggravate the condition because they also possess the anticholinesterase activity. Obedoxime is the drug which crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it can also reactivate the acetylcholinesterase enzyme in the CNS. but it is less effective than the pralidoxime. And diacetyl monoxime, it crosses the blood-brain barrier and in experimental animals regenerates some of the CNS cholinesterase. So activity, the combined convergence in the CNS can be effective only by these drugs which cross the blood-brain barrier like cobidoxime and diacetyl monoxime. And experimental animals, we use the diacetyl monoxime. Thank you. That's all for organophosphate poisoning. I hope you understood. If you understood, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Nitika's Pharmacological Discussion. Happy learning. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. Thank you.